back, everyone. You may have just purchased your brand new iPhone 13 or iPhone 13 Pro, and I'm going to give you a basic walkthrough of this camera setup. It's a very easy process of how to use your iPhone 13 or 13 Pro camera, and they're essentially the same exact camera. I'm not going to go into super technical stuff, but on the back, you do have, dual camera setup on the iPhone 13 and 13 mini. The Pro and the Pro Max have a triple camera setup. So on the 13, you have a wide angle lens and ultra wide sensor. That ultra wide sensor will essentially allow you to zoom out a lot in that photo and essentially get a fisheye lens type of effect. The iPhone 13 Pro has all the camera setups that the iPhone 13 has, but it has an additional telephoto lens. So this camera allows you to zoom in a lot into a photo. Now, you do have a LiDAR sensor on the iPhone 13 Pro. You do not have it on the 13 or 13 mini. And this is essentially, an AR type of feature. It helps out with, augmented reality type of apps. It still works on the 13, but it's a better experience on the 13 Pro. So that's essentially it on the back. On the front, you essentially have the same exact camera setup. You have a 12 megapixel sensor, wide angle lenses on both, 4K and 60 on both as well. Now, if you want to access your camera, there's a couple of different ways to do it. So if you turn on your iPhone and you're on the lock screen like this, you can literally go access the camera by swiping to the side right here, and you'll jump straight into the camera application. Now, you can also swipe up, and you can swipe up here, get into your home screen, and you can also find the camera app right there, and you can also open it right there as well. And this will let you jump straight into the camera application, and you can take photos and all this good stuff. Now, before we get too deep into there, I do want to locate the settings camera app. Now, within the settings application, you have your camera module. So this allows you to basically prefer and set up different things that you want on your specific camera. Because not all the features are built in straight into the camera app, you still have a lot of things you can configure in the settings application. So what we want to do is we want to make our way down into our settings app, click camera, and here you can go ahead and configure a lot of different things that you want. If you want to change the format of your video, you can change them to your photo for your most compatible high efficiency. You can record your video in different frame rates. You can also change this within the camera app itself. Record stereo sound right here. Preserve settings. I would recommend you all to turn every single one of these on that you want. This live photo option too. Basically, it just makes a video of your photo, which I don't really like, but you can go ahead and disable or enable that. Change these two however you want to. Same exact thing here. I would always recommend to have scan QR codes on. And those are really the main things that you can go ahead and kind of configure. And whenever you're ready, you can swipe up and you can jump straight into your camera app. And now we can get into it. So on the top right, you will see your live photo option. So I would always recommend to have that off unless you know what you're doing. On the top left, you'll have your flash. So you could enable and disable flash there. You can have automatic flash enabled as well. On the top right here, you'll see this arrow pointing up, which some people may not even see it. If you actually click that, you'll see a little option come up down here, and you'll have a ton of other options that you can go ahead and configure as well. So you can disable enable flash, live photo, you can add some other things, you can change the aspect ratio, and so many different options that you have. I think this is the brightness of your specific, the exposure. So there's a lot of different options that you can go ahead and configure here. You can just tap here to kind of get out of it. And you can also go ahead and tap here to come out of this one, and you can come back straight into this panel. Now, if you want to come out of here, you can just tap that arrow up top again, and you'll come out and basically come into this little panel where you can change your modes. Now, working our way down here, you can see obviously the screen of everything. Now, right here, you'll see this 0.5x and 1x. Now, if I pull up my 13 Pro next to it, if you have a 13 Pro, you will see 0.5x, 1x, and 3. So what this indicates, what it allows you to do is essentially drag this dial just like this, and you can zoom in and zoom out of a photo without having to pinch to zoom. So you can see just like how I'm doing here. Now with the iPhone 13, you still have the ability of zooming in a lot, but you don't have the ability of zooming in as much as the iPhone 13 Pro. As you can see, you can't really tell, but with the iPhone 13, you still have the ability to zoom out the same exact thing with the iPhone 13 Pro. So you can, instead of pinching to zoom, you have that ability there, which is really nice. Now, on the bottom left, you do have the photo grid icon, so you can always click here and jump straight into your photo gallery. So if you just took a photo, you can go ahead and find it here. You can swipe down to come back to the camera app. This middle button is exactly where you go ahead and click on if you want to take a photo. So you can see you can just take a photo like this. You can also, like I mentioned, and so that's going to be the main button you're going to be using. You can also, if you configure it into the settings, you can click the volume up or volume down button to take a photo as well, which is really cool. Now you do have this little option on the bottom right. This allows you to switch to the front or back camera. So if you click that, it'll just switch it to the front camera. If you click it back, it'll go back to the back camera. Now, portrait mode is another really cool option. This essentially allows you to take portrait mode type photos, so it blurs out the background a lot. I haven't really gotten a chance to work with it yet on the iPhone 13s, but it's been out since the 7 Plus, so that's another really cool feature. And you can also change out your little styling right here, which is really cool. Now you can also swipe between the options instead of, clicking on the button right here. You can swipe to the side right here to get into that panel. You can swipe to the side to get into this next one, which is panoramic mode. So it allows you to go ahead and kind of get a long, photo if you want to. I don't really use it too often, but they have that option, which is cool. You can also zoom in and zoom out of these photos too, which is really nice by clicking here. Now we can always swipe back out to go to portrait mode, click photo. And now if you want to take a video, you can go ahead and click on video and it'll automatically adjust the brightness up and you can start taking your video. Now on the top, you'll have your time right here. And one little thing I want to tell you is if you're filming a video in landscape mode, aka this mode, you want to make sure that the time is on top right here. If you're taking it this way, you want to make sure the time is up top. So now it's appropriate. So you don't want to take a video in the opposite way. Sometimes that happens all the time. On the top right, you can actually go ahead and change your video resolution by tapping on it. So if you want to take HD video at 30 frames per second, you can just tap on it and it'll get there. Or you can also tap on it like this and you can change it to HD at 60. You can change it to 4K by clicking on the HD icon and it'll change it to 4K at 60. For a majority of you, I would recommend keeping it at HD at 30. It saves a lot more storage. Unless you know what you're doing, you can go and take it forward. Now, another thing you can do if we swipe back into photos is you can actually make a video without having to even go on video mode by holding down on that little button. So much similar to Snapchat and Instagram to make a story, you can literally just hold down on this little option. It'll start making a quick video and you can swipe to the side right here and lock that video. You can take photos within that video as well by clicking here. Sometimes you can go and click stop and it'll go ahead and stop that specific video. So it's a very easy process. And if you want to see that video again, click here and it'll go and start playing that video, which is really awesome. Now we can swipe over to video. If you want to make a video here, you click this button right here. You can zoom in, zoom out, whatever you want to do. And it's a very easy process right here. Whenever you're done, click done and it'll get saved into your photo. Now this new cinematic mode is pretty crazy. So what this allows you to do is very similar to portrait mode. It allows you to make, blurred out videos, which look really nice. Now, it may not be for everybody, and it does take up quite a bit of storage, nothing super crazy, but it is a little bit, so you'll probably be better off if you use standard video mode. But like I mentioned, if you know what you're doing, I made a couple of videos like this. This is a really cool feature. All you have to do, there's nothing to configure. You click the button. If you have a subject in mind, you can click on it and pretty much move on from there, which is really cool. Now, if we swipe to the left one more time, you'll get into slow-mo mode, which is slow motion video. I don't know too many people that use this. Like I mentioned, if you're dropping things, if you're doing drop tests, if you're trying to get a video that's in slow motion, you can go ahead and use this instead of slowing it down after, recording it. You can just slow it down here automatically, and it's a really cool thing as well. There's nothing to configure here except in the top right. And finally, if we make our way over to time-lapse, you'll see that this is another time-lapse option. So essentially, with the iPhone 13s, it's funny you actually have, a flat side. So you can go ahead and put your phone on the flat side and record a time lapse if you want to. If you have a tripod, you can go ahead and put that on there. And you can pretty much just make a time lapse by clicking on this button. And it'll go ahead and take a photo every, I think, couple of seconds. I think it's every 6 or 7 seconds. And that's pretty much it. There you go. It'll just keep taking photos and photos and photos. And that's really all you have to do. Now, another thing I want to showcase to you is if we make our way back over to our photo option is focusing. So if you have a photo that looks like this iPhone, there's automatic focusing. So it's not going to go ahead and, unfocus, but it can, get a little tracky. So if you wanted to lock the focus on one specific option, so let's say you wanted to lock the focus on, this little portion, you would just have to go ahead and hold down on that little option right here, and it'll go ahead and lock it. So it's not going to go ahead and go hunting for a focus mode or anything like that. It's just going to keep it, unless you tap it again, then it's going to start focusing, and you can see it'll randomly start focusing on random stuff, just like that. Another thing you can do is increase the exposure. So you can go ahead and tap on the image right here, and you'll see this little box come up and that little brightness toggle come up right next to it. So if I were to go ahead and click on it just like this, I can go ahead and drag that, brightness toggle up, and increase the brightness. Now, maybe I don't want it too bright. Maybe I want to decrease the brightness because it's super bright here. I'll go ahead and keep decreasing the brightness like this. And you can see that you can get as low as you want to, and you can go ahead and take the photo right there too. So that's another cool little option that you have. Again, it's not perfect, but it is another cool thing that you can do. And I would recommend you guys to also look into it as well. And those are pretty much the main advantages and main things that you can do between both of these phones. So that's a quick little walkthrough of the camera module on both of these devices. Now, like I mentioned, there's a lot more little things that you can do between like Snapchat, photo apps you can download, video apps you can download too. But right now, you should have a basic understanding of how to use your iPhone 13 and 13 Pro camera, and hopefully you enjoy the video. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.